Okay. Hey, I'm Mitchell Wojcik, photographer, director guy, and this is The Nightlife. I met the Wonder Years in 2007, and at that point in time, I wasn't a big fan of them. I was into the music and I liked the idea of the band. It was funny and it was a lot of fun. They were on one of their first US tours and I noticed that they had a day off, and so I booked them a house show at the house that I rented when I lived in Michigan. The show got shut down itself from the cops, which was tight. A live band playing in my backyard. People aren't going to call the cops or anything. So we ended up hanging out, having a bonfire and barbecuing, grilling, and then the guys just played a bunch of songs acoustic in my backyard. And from there, like, the guys, they would come in every so often on tour. I'd go to their shows, we'd hang out. And then I moved to California. When I moved to California, I met Chris Hansen, who runs No Sleep Records, and Soupy introduced us. And Soupy was like, hey, you're a photographer, so like, I'd like it if you would shoot, our artwork. We're doing a full length and we're taking this seriously. So I ended up photographing the upsides. It was the first time I'd ever shot anything that I thought was like gigantic, and I was like really nervous and really excited. And then the record came out and people were excited about it. People were excited about, the photographs. People were, replicating that sign, the I'm Not Sad Anymore sign. The guys played their release shows. They did 5 major cities, and I took the photo that's on the back of the I'm Not Sad Anymore shirt. In retrospect, it's really funny because it's like not one of my best photos, I think, but it's definitely a photo that's seen, over 10,000 shirts, which is insane to think about.
I'm in that shirt.
I know you're in that shirt. It's so funny. So from that point, I was like, you know what? I think that this is like the thing. Like, I moved to California to become a photographer, and that was the first time that I'd ever done anything that anyone cared about. Another year rolls around, Soupy calls me, hey man, we got an idea. Will you fly out to where we live and shoot our album artwork for us? And I was like, of course. And I photographed Josh in a bird costume for like a week and put it all together with Chris. And that's when I knew it was time to stop working a retail job and to start working at doing this. And at the beginning stages of shooting that, Soupy had mentioned to me, hey man, we have an idea for something else, like on top of this. Do you want to go on tour with us for the next year and a half? Sure, why not? So then I started touring again full time. I toured with Hello Goodbye, and when they put out Would It Kill You with Now Now, shooting a bunch of their photos, the Swellers and Bayside, Silverstein. Then I went out with Evan from Into It Over It for a couple weeks, and we played house shows. So I'm going from like 300 cap rooms to 800 cap rooms to a living room. So I was doing like little bouts of touring with the Wonder Years. We did Warped Tour. When we got back, I went out with Koji in his minivan. So I went from being on a bus and being on Warped Tour to being in his purple minivan that I think he still owns. And at that point, I was just living in Lansdale. The early November Joe called me up one day and he said, hey, we're getting back together. And I said, hey, I've got an idea. Let's do a history book. So simultaneously, I'm still finishing up the Wonder Years book. Soupy and the guys came over a few times. We would sit down. They would like handwrite things. We'd look over the layout. It took a year and a half to shoot, and then it took another month for me every day. Waking up 8, 9 a.m. I'd go sit on the couch. I'd turn on my computer. I'd drink 7 cups of coffee. I'd eat countless gallons of ice cream. And I would just lay out a book and edit photos, lay out a book, edit photos, lay out a book, edit photos. And I remember looking at it and just going, fuck, this is a book. Where do I go from here? It's all, every time you look at it, you're like, I did this. This is something I did. You get a sense of pride, but you also get this little glimmer of hope, and you're like, oh man, I can keep doing this, and I can keep pushing myself and do more. Like, I want to do more. Where do I go from here? So then I started shooting videos. Coming from this tour with Hello Goodbye and seeing the arenas, the amount of people, and then really thinking back to how did I get here? And it was because I wanted my best friend to have a really good birthday, and so I booked the Wonder Years to play at my house. And they played in my backyard to like 30 kids. Hey, I'm Mitchell Wojcik. I'm a photographer, director guy, and that's kind of the nightlife.